My body changed a lot in 6 months because when I took this photo in November, I was 62 kilograms and I am 5'4" or 164 centimeters. And then 6 months later, I look like this at around 55 kilograms. The muscle that you see in the second photo was already there. It was just covered by a layer of fat tissue. So let me show you exactly the 6 things that I did to get there in 6 months. Number 1 is to shift your mindset. This is what I used to struggle with at the beginning of my personal fitness journey. I would fully commit to a goal and then create the most unrealistic, hardcore, and perfect on paper routine possible. For example, so this is what I would be doing when I was around 14 years old in my bedroom, because we had Insanity at the time, and I would save up, get the DVD, and then try to do it in my bedroom secretly in the evening because I didn't want to wake up my parents. Obviously, it isn't called Insanity for no reason, and I could only stick to approximately 20% of the entire routine for 4 days. And then I would fall off, I would hate myself for it, and then I would quit doing everything. Now, I've come a long way, and I can tell you that fitness is a long-term game. There are no shortcuts, there are no overnight results, and if you tell yourself that, starting tomorrow you're going to do a million things and you're going to only eat white fish and steamed broccoli, you are setting yourself up for absolute failure. It's unrealistic, you will fall off, and then you will never train again. So what you have to do is stop looking for the quick fix and start looking for the lifestyle. When you enter a fat loss journey, it will take time. There will be days where the scale doesn't move. There will be days where, you can't stick to the program to the extent that you maybe intended to. There are days where you are low in motivation or in energy, and that's all part of the journey. And the version of you that reaches your end goal is not the person who survives a 6-week crash diet. It's the person who learned how to make healthy choices on their worst days, not just their best ones. Number 2, create a routine that works with your life. I hear people say all the time, oh, wait till you have kids, or, try doing this when you work 60 hours a week at ABC company. And that's all true, because your schedule is yours. And that's why you need to analyze your schedule and then optimize it. Look at your day. How long do things actually take? Where can you maybe shift things around? When do you have the most energy? That's all relevant and individual information that you should consider before creating a plan. And the same goes with where you train. So if you cannot get to the gym, then working out from home is probably your best solution. And if you cannot train 5 days a week, then maybe you can do 2 slightly longer sessions. If you cannot train during the week because of work and kids, then maybe you can try fitting something in over the weekends. Because the best program isn't the one that the pro athlete follows. It's the one that actually, fits into your personal schedule on a Thursday afternoon. And the same holds for all the details of your program, because if you are currently averaging at 2,000 steps, then instead of implementing a 10K step goal, start with 4K steps. Implement a goal that's actually doable for you, and then build from there. The only thing that I want to add, however, is that if you are like me and you are motivated by actually seeing results, then don't try to start too slow. Because with something like a fat loss journey, you kind of want to get in and then get out as quickly as you can instead of dreading this entire process. If you feel like you have been dieting for 2 years and you're not really getting anywhere, then it's quite hard to stay committed. Number 3 is my training protocol. So the foundation of any of my transformations, but fat loss specifically, is strength training. Why? Well, you have to signal to your body that it needs that muscle mass, because otherwise, whenever you are in a deficit, your body will let go of it. And again, we want to be in a deficit to lose body fat specifically. We don't just want to lose weight by losing muscle mass. So personally, I try to lift multiple times a week, but you can get the same results with 2 days a week. You just have to make sure that you adjust your split, because the key here is that we want to try to hit each muscle group at least twice per week. So if you only realistically have 2 days a week that you can go ahead and train, then try a full body split, because this way you are hitting every muscle group twice a week. Now, if you can train 4 times, then you can, for example, do an upper and a lower split twice, because then again, you will train every single muscle group twice a week. But that's just the lifting portion of the entire training protocol, because additionally, I also do cardio. And no, I'm not just doing cardio to burn fat. We're doing it for our cardiovascular health. But still, it's a tool. During a fat loss phase, I am building out my cardio protocol as needed as I notice any plateaus in my results. But often I do a dedicated cardio session twice per week. And then I focus on mainly the low intensity cardio during this period, as I don't want to get too fatigued too quickly. Besides the cardio, I also have daily steps, because even though walking might not be my primary focus of my training protocol, it should still be the daily non-negotiable, because besides burning calories, it also supports your circulation, it helps to regulate your blood sugar, but also your cortisol levels. I just went over everything very quickly, but if you want to do exactly what I did without having to think about everything or program everything yourself, then I have good news for you, because I created the 6-week Shred program in my app so that you can follow everything. It has the weightlifting, it has the cardio, it has the daily steps, and after selecting your experience level, you can also say how often you want to train per week, and then the program will be adjusted based on your needs. You can train with me using the gym mode, you can keep track of the weights, you can keep track of your reps, and now you can also easily rearrange your week if, for example, your schedule turned out differently than you anticipated. Everything is set up in a way that it is easy for you to stay consistent. And if you don't care about the training, we also have the best recipes in-app. So the link is in the description box if you want to go ahead and try it out. And if you don't reach your goals in these 6 weeks, then you can easily restart the program. Number 4 is my food intake. So I always start by cleaning up my diet, which means that I have 3 main meals a day focused on whole foods, on proteins, on healthy fats, and on vegetables specifically. I aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, and this again is so that I'm keeping as much lean mass as possible during this fat loss phase. I usually keep my breakfast light on carbs. I mainly focus on fruits, and then I focus on fats and proteins, and I save the bulk of my carb intake for my second meal, which I usually have after my workout when my body needs them most for recovery, but this is personal preference. And then in the evening before I go to bed, I would have some quark or Greek yogurt, as that contains casein protein, which is a slow digesting protein, and it keeps you fueled and full while you sleep. But this is just what I do. It's personal preference. Whether you lose weight or not comes down to your total daily intake or your total weekly intake even, and not to the timing of your meals per se. Additionally, what I think is really key is that you make sure that you chew your food well and that you eat without a screen, because if you connect with your senses while eating, it's much easier for you to stop when you're about 70 or 80% full. You need to give your body time to catch up with your intake. Signal that you're full, and then have sustained energy. Number 5 is to master your sleeping habits, which is very often overlooked. But if you aren't sleeping, then you aren't recovering. And if you aren't recovering, then your body isn't changing. It really is that simple. Because when most people talk about fat loss, it is often about, determination and how bad do you really want it. But it is quite impossible to use willpower when your hormones are unbalanced. When you are sleep deprived, 2 specific hormones go kind of crazy, which are your ghrelin and your leptin levels. Ghrelin is your hunger hormone, and when you don't sleep enough, your ghrelin levels spike. And this is a signal to your brain telling you that you want to eat now, which usually leads to high calorie and high carb foods. Leptin, on the other hand, is the hormone that tells you that you are full. And if you're sleep deprived, your leptin levels decrease. So you kind of already understand what's going on now, because you'll end up in this vicious cycle. So your brain is screaming that it's hungry because of the high ghrelin, but it never receives a signal that it is satisfied because of the low leptin. And then on top of those things happening, the lack of sleep also sends your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, through the roof. And high cortisol signals to your body to hold on to fat, especially around the midsection, and it can also lead to muscle protein breakdown, which is essentially that your body starts eating its own muscle for energy because it is in a stressed survival state. So to make sure that this all doesn't happen, I prioritize 7 to 8 hours of quality rest if I can. And I do that by not scrolling on my phone 1 hour before bed, because that blue light, that suppresses your melatonin and it keeps your brain alert and awake. And then I also try to keep a consistent wake up time and sleeping time, even on the weekends, because this regulates your rhythm and it makes it so much easier for your body to enter into a deep restorative sleep where your growth hormone is naturally released to repair all of your tissues. Because you can have the perfect diet and the perfect workout plan, but if you're only sleeping 4 to 5 hours, you are making it yourself extremely difficult. So if you cannot manage your sleeping habits, maybe because you're postpartum, maybe because you have little kids, then realize that a fat loss phase might not be the right thing for you and your body right now. Just being completely honest here, because you want to set yourself up for success and not failure. And then number 6 is to realize that it is all just a phase, because everything I just said sounds quite intense, and it also kind of is. But remember, it is also just a phase. I went through phases of gaining weight to build muscle. I went through phases, by reversing it, by cutting. And you are not going to live in these phases forever. Once you reach your goal and your goal composition, you can just switch to maintenance. And maintenance is so much easier and feels so much more natural. So this is how I changed my body a lot in 6 months. I did not receive any comments on my appearance for the first 4 of that fat loss journey, even though I put in the work every single day. And that is because it takes time, and that's okay. Thank you so much for watching this video. And again, if you need guided support, then click the link in the description box to check out my app. We have a free 14-day trial, so you can give it a go, see if it is something for you. Bye guys.